Hey everybody, what's up? And welcome to the next episode of Dev and the Bear. Today we're going to talk about the next UFC card, UFC Vegas 26. We're going to talk a little bit about some drama that's going on, and we're going to talk about the PFL cards. But first, just a quick shout out to 4 times as funky YouTube user that interacted with us a little bit on our page. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your thoughts on the Mark Smith situation. Really cool of you. That's definitely what we're wanting. We're wanting some interaction from the people who listen. We want people to be involved. That's what a podcast is. It's just a pathway to discussion. So we're going to go ahead and get into discussion with the UFC card, UFC Vegas 26. The first fight we're going to talk about on that card is going to be Amanda Ribas and Angela Hill. It's a very exciting fight. Both fighters, they bring it every single time. I know I'm a big fan of both of them. I feel like Angela Hill is definitely going to have the strength advantage in that fight. She just fights very tough the whole time. She's very persistent and makes herself prevalent in everything she does. She's always making herself known that she's going to be there every step of the way in every one of her fights. And Amanda Ribas is a little bit the opposite of that. She's very calm and relaxed, and the second it goes to the ground, she might even try to lure you to the ground by making you think, I'll just take her down. I'm going to just put an end to this. And she takes advantage of it, and she definitely tries to win the fight as soon as it gets to the ground.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm definitely excited for this fight. I like this starting off the main card for this Saturday. I'm a big fan of both as well. I really like Angela Hill. She's, definitely coming back because she's kind of had, she was 1-0 when she came to the UFC. So, she's definitely grown in the UFC. She took a couple of losses here and there. Would win some, lose some, and so now she's finding her footing. She's doing really, really well. And then you have Amanda Ribas. Everybody likes her. She's a big fan. Everybody's a big fan of her. And so it's definitely cool seeing these. I hate this fight, but I love this fight because
someone has to lose.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want either of these fighters to lose. Amanda Ribas is coming off of a loss. You have, she got TKO'd in her last fight, which a lot of people say that the fight should have been stopped a little earlier. The first round rather than the second.
She wasn't looking good in it.
No, she wasn't.
Frustrating.
And so just like in that little bit of that, it's just like, Ribas, she's very good on the ground and she knows how to control the fight. But Angela Hill her only stoppages really because she has, 9 losses and 7 of those are by decision. 2 of those are by submission. And the last person to submit her was Honda Marcos, but that was back in 2019. And so in 2 years, most of her losses only came by decision. So I'm kind of curious what's going to happen with the fight in the sense that, how is Ribas going to get to the ground and how is Angela Hill going to, because I think she has the advantage on the feet. So it's like,
she definitely does.
Yeah. I think she has a strong advantage on the feet compared to Amanda Ribas, but it's definitely going to be a really good back and forth. If you really want to watch a good women's strawweight fight, this is the one to watch. The strawweight division is my favorite division, and one of my favorite divisions in the UFC. And they constantly go back and forth with each other. These women, they go in there to fight. They show that they're the best in the division for a reason. And so I'm really, really looking forward to this one.
I think if I were to make a prediction on this fight, I'm going to say that what ends up happening throughout the fight is Angela Hill needs to take the center of the octagon and just stay there.
Yeah.
But I think, like I said, I think she likes to make sure she is prevalent with everything that she does. She's constantly moving forward. She's constantly being the aggressor. So I think she's going to be trying to back down Ribas winning in the stand-up, but I think she kind of pushes herself into a bit of a clinch game up against the cage, which again, that's what Ribas does. She kind of lures you into it and then takes you down, or lets you take her down.
Yeah.
So I think that ends up happening, and I think once it gets to the ground, Ribas is going to make the fight hers.
Yeah.
And I think that the stand up is going to be, it's definitely going to be Angela Hill, but I don't think there's going to be enough stand up in this fight for Angela Hill to win it by decision, but I do think it goes to decision, and I give it to Amanda Ribas.
You give it to Ribas. Honestly, I feel like I really feel like Angela Hill's gonna take the decision win. I think that whenever Ribas tries to take it to the ground, she's not gonna find much success in it, and it's just because Angela Hill is very well rounded when it comes to that. Most of the time, whenever you would see her losing, like one of her last losses was to Michelle Watterson stand-up fight, and I don't see Amanda Ribas wanting to stand up with her. I see her trying to get in her face, but I think Angela Hill's able to avoid that, kind of get around her, able to cut her off at certain angles. If it goes to the ground, I definitely give that fight to Hebos, but I think Angela Hill's gonna edge out the decision against her, which I hate to see it. I like Amanda Hebos a lot, but good for Angela Hill. I think her racking up wins is gonna be very, very important for her because I want to see her fight for the title eventually.
Yeah, I mean she's gonna earn it one way or another.
Yeah.
Beating Hebos is another step in getting there.
Yeah.
All right. The next fight is gonna be
Carlos Ferreira versus Gregor Gillespie.
That's a really good one because I feel like both of those guys are animals.
Yep.
Gregor Gillespie is always fun to watch. That dude trains harder than anyone. And I know that's a cliche saying, but you go look this guy up, and it's all he's doing is training.
Yeah.
If he's not training, he's fishing, but he fishes aggressively. So he's just always training. I think it's a really good fight. I think we see kind of a lot of wrestling in this fight.
Yep. I think so too. I think Gregor Gillespie's a grinder, man, but he's an exciting one. He's not one of these guys like he's always going for the finish. He's always going for a submission. He's trying to do whatever he can to stop the fight. And I really like Gregor Gillespie. I mean, but also with Ferreira, he's a student of the game. He's been around he's a veteran in the UFC. I mean, some of his losses are against very, very tough fighters. He got knocked out by Dustin Poirier back in 2015. And that's when Dustin started this tear that he's on, around that time. I think Dustin only really suffered one more loss until later on when he fought Khabib.
Yeah.
But, he just was kind of just in the way of Dustin's training. Dustin just pushed him out of the way, So I think Gregor is going to definitely know not to really go to the ground with this guy. I know he has great submissions. He submitted Anthony Pettis, which is a big deal because Anthony Pettis has great ground game. And so
I think Gillespie's not afraid to be on top of this guy. I feel like wrestlers often have a lot of success against strong jiu-jitsu guys.
Yeah.
When they're on top.
Yeah.
So I think Gillespie's probably not going to be afraid to go to the ground with this guy. I think he wins in the stand-up.
Yeah.
Ferreira likes to fight. He likes to brawl a little bit in the stand-up. He swings a little wild. He's kind of like Gilbert Burns.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely doesn't mind striking, but his strength definitely lies in his grappling.
Yeah.
But I think that fight stays standing and then up against the cage.
Yeah, I think because Carlos, he's a very aggressive Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter. He likes to go for that takedown. Whenever he fought Anthony Pettis, I mean, as soon as the fight started, he was all over Anthony Pettis. And Gregor having such a great background in wrestling and stuff, I think he's going to be able to defend that a little bit. But sometimes with American-style wrestlers, they are very susceptible, give them their back really easily. And I think with somebody like Ferreira, it's going to be very hard not to do that, because you don't want to make that mistake against somebody like that. But I think Gregor Gillespie, he has the stand-up. He has all the tools to be great, to be top 10 at least, And so I really, really like both these guys. But, I think Gregor Gillespie, he's just going to have too many tools for Ferreira. I mean, look at the guys that have beat Carlos. They're not slouches. Look at Beneil Dariush. He's about to fight Tony Ferguson next week. And so he's losing to guys that are very good. He hasn't really lost in a really long time except to Beneil Dariush. But Gregor Gillespie, he has a lot to prove coming back. I mean, his last fight was that knockout loss to Kevin Lee, and he got starched that fight. I
was pretty frustrated with that.
He did not look good at all.
I'm not a huge fan of Kevin Lee, and I am a big fan of Gregor Gillespie, so seeing him lose in that fashion was pretty bad.
Yeah, it was tough to watch. I like Gregor Gillespie, and it was like one of the first fights I stopped and made sure to make time to watch that fight. And it was just when he got knocked out by Kevin Lee, I was like, well, shit. Yeah. Every time I go for one new fighter, and it was just, I think Carlos is a grinder as well, but he has great ground game. I think Gregor has the advantage on the feet. I think he has very good boxing. He's just, he's been knocked out. Guys get knocked out. It happens in the sport. But I would probably have to say, for my prediction on that, I would say Gregor Gillespie by decision. I don't see him stopping him.
Yeah, I don't think that fight, if it does go to the ground, I don't think either fighter is really going to be able to accomplish a whole lot.
No. Because
they're both going to kind of match each other on the ground. And then in the stand-up, like I said, I think there will be quite a bit of stand-up, but I think if anything, it's going to be Ferreira bringing it to the cage and then Gillespie getting a whizzer or getting his underhooks and turning it around and I think it takes place a lot up against the cage.
Yeah, because I think that's where Gillespie's definitely going to have to win this fight. It's going to be on the feet. I think on the ground, it's going to be very dangerous for him to go to the ground against somebody like that. Wrestlers have been known to do good against these jiu-jitsu guys, but, Carlos Ferreira, he's a dangerous jiu-jitsu guy. He's very aggressive. He will go for that submission if he can get it. So, but I think Gillespie is able to keep it. He's able to keep that distance. He's very technical, and he's not a brawler like Ferreira, but I think, I would definitely have to say I think Gregory just edges out the decision against them.
All right, and our next fight?
It's going to be Marcos Rodrigo de Lima versus Maurice Green, the Crochet Boss.
Crochet Boss.
Big fan of this guy.
Yeah, one of the few heavyweights who can go out there and consistently get submission wins. It's really cool to see. So I'm always a big fan of that. We might be a little biased on that just because I know we're both fans of Maurice Green.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a good fight. Heavyweight fights are usually either really exciting or really boring.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think Maurice Green ever really is in too boring of a fight. I mean, he likes to go out there and he likes to fight some of these guys. He has a very good defensive game as well. But I mean, the reason why, not only does he know how to crochet, but he's a great submission artist as well. I mean, he definitely knows how to get people off their back, and he's very, very good on the ground. And he's just a grinder. And then you have De Lima, who's a good fighter. He's going up to heavyweight. He was a light heavyweight fighter. And so he's coming back to heavyweight, and so he's right now since he's returned to heavyweight, he's 2-2 with both of his losses since returning to heavyweight have been by losses to submission, which I think that's what gives Maurice Green the advantage, as well as knowing that it's like, okay, like he knows that this guy is susceptible to being submitted. I mean, he has 5 submission losses.
And it's the arm triangle. I think the arm triangle is definitely one of Maurice Green's best weapons on the ground. And one of Maurice Green's losses was to an arm triangle by Stefan Struve. So I think that's definitely one Maurice Green will be looking for. That's one he knows how to get very easily. So I would say at least by the second round, Maurice Green's getting an arm triangle submission.
Yeah.
Or any submission, but
yeah,
arm triangle submission.
I think I have to agree. I think he is going to get the submission win in that, just because De Lima, he's just, I think when it comes to the ground, he's just he gets just taken over by these bigger guys. He was a light heavyweight fighter, went up because he was missing weight, and so he decided to take that jump. And I think Maurice Green he's a great heavyweight. He moves very, very well for heavyweight. I think he does need to clean up his boxing a little bit. I know that his last loss was to Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy rocked him pretty well. There was
Greg
talks
Hardy just hits hard, man.
Yeah, he is a heavy ass hitter. Like he is a super heavy hitter, and I think that, I mean, if you go against Greg Hardy and you don't get rocked by that guy, it's just I don't know what to say. It's just like I think your skull's made of vibranium or something, because he hits hard, man, and I think it's gonna be a good fight for sure. I think that fight will definitely end in stoppage. Both these guys are going for the stoppage no matter what. I mean, Maurice Green, since he's been in the UFC, he's only had one fight go to decision. So I think that says a lot about him. Either he's getting the win, the finish, or somebody else is getting to finish him. All 3 of his losses in the UFC came by finish. So either he got TKO'd and then twice, once by Greg Hardy, once against Sergey Pavlovich, and then he has a armbar loss to Alexei Olnik. So, but that guy is just as good on the ground.
That's what Olnik does. He gets you down and he wears you down, and then he submits you.
Yeah. So, which a lot of people are kind of catching on to his game plan now. That's why, I mean, he's getting knocked out a lot. Chris Daukaus knocked him out, which his brother is fighting on the prelims. Kyle Daukaus, which is going to be an exciting fight against Phil Hawes.
Yeah. So Phil Hawes is the boss, man.
Yeah.
He's good. But I think the Daukaus brothers, I think they're gonna be running this game pretty soon.
Yeah, they're both coming up. It's so it's very impressive to see. But yeah, I'm gonna have to definitely go Green by submission. He's kind of a slow starter. He doesn't really rush in there very quick. And I mean, depending on De Lima's gas tank, he's returning back to heavyweight. I mean, I know that he's already had a couple fights at heavyweight, but I mean, is the gas tank going to be able to translate over there? But these guys that fight at heavyweight, the longer the fight goes on, the more tired they get. So yeah, I have to.
And all that being said, De Lima has some submission wins too.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's not going to be able to put up a fight. I do think that Maurice Green is going to win it. So we're not trying to bash too hard on De Lima.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just think Maurice Green just is. he's a bigger fighter. He's a stronger fighter. I just think that's
there are levels to this.
Yeah.
Like,
and I
Maurice
think
Green is on a level where he's going to be a top contender.
Yeah.
He's
got to clean some things up, but he'll definitely be there for sure.
And who knows? Maybe we'll be wrong.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I always like the upset. I always like seeing it. I mean, if DeLima could come in there and pull it off, good for him. I mean, I always like seeing these guys come back after a loss or something. So, but, I mean, Maurice Green, he's 6'7", 255. He's huge. He's ginormous. And then you have DeLima, who's only 6'1", and he walks around about the same weight. But I mean, there's this size advantage.
Come in there and get a flying triangle.
That would be insane.
Do it.
We need to see it. We need something to match. These cards have been crazy these past couple weeks. So I'm definitely looking forward to these fights. I mean, these main card fights are definitely going to be very, very good. And so for our our fourth fight leading into the main card, it's going to be Neil Magny versus Jeff Neal. I'm excited for this fight.
That one's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very fun fight. I like Neil Magny. He was doing good. I mean, he did lose to Michael Chiesa recently, but I mean, Michael Chiesa's on a tear as well.
Everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. And so a lot of people are losing to Michael Chiesa right now. I mean, even Kamaru Usman saying that he should be fighting Michael Chiesa for the title next, which I would like to see that fight. I like Michael Chiesa a lot. And I mean, I've followed him since The Ultimate Fighter. I know that people that really didn't recognize him, I would say people who could kind of keep up with like the outside of the sport, didn't start keeping up with him to the whole thing happened with Kevin Lee. But I mean, he's a good fighter. I mean, he's faced some very, very tough competition. So I'm excited to see how this fight goes. I like Jeff Neal. I mean, he's super entertaining.
Yeah, he hits hard and he's very active. He moves a lot throughout the fights.
Yeah.
But then you have Neil Magny who will match that. He may not move as quickly, but he's always going to be there. He's always going to be jabbing. He's always going to be hitting you.
Yeah.
No matter where you go, he's peppering you, trying to get you set up for a big shot, or he's going to get you on the ground and figure out what he wants to do with you on there.
Yeah.
He's really good all around. I think that's what ends up happening. I think he's going to have to take Jeff Neal down, finish the fight on the ground. I think he could rock him standing up and then get a TKO on the ground. But I think that's going to be a good fight. It's not going to be easy sticking with Jeff Neal and catching him, but I think that's what Neil Magny does. I think he catches him, rocks him, maybe second round.
You think so?
And then finishes it on the ground.
What's it called? I don't know. I have to say I'm gonna go with Jeff Neal. I can see him getting the knockout. Honestly, I think he's I really can. He's a powerful fighter. I mean, also just because he's a fellow Texan, so I always root for those guys. But even though what
about James Vick?
James Vick. I mean, I wish this executioner would have done something. I was happy to see him retire though, because he was getting knocked out dirty.
Yeah, he wasn't doing it.
No, he was not doing it. It just happens, man. It catches up. Eventually, your chin gives out. And I think some of what has to do with him, his weight cut. He's huge, cutting down 155. But Jeff Neal, I think he is able to get TKO on him. I mean, and Neil Magny is a tough fighter. But if Jeff Neal was able to beat Magny to the punch on certain things, if he's able to be just a step quicker than him, that's what Neil Magny is. That's where he struggles at. Look at what Michael Chiesa did to him. Michael Chiesa was able to pretty much play Neil Magny's game against him because they're both the same type of fighters. They're grinders.
That being said, though, Michael Chiesa also kind of matches Neil Magny in length, and Jeff Neal doesn't.
Right, yeah. And there is definitely a size disadvantage for Jeff Neal when it comes to that. But, I mean, you've also seen, the guys that Jeff Neal has put out, like not really, I wouldn't say put out, but the guys that he's TKO'd are guys that normally people don't. I mean, he's, TKO'd Nico Price, Mike Perry, just to name a few. And so he's really, really good. I think 170 is his weight division. He had a good chance to move up really high against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, but Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is just, his striking is just so, just levels above other guys in the division.
He's not very good.
Who's that? Thompson? Yeah, you're right.
He's not very good.
He got knocked out by a lightweight. What am I talking about?
Yeah, man. Come on.
No. What's it called? But
sarcasm, people.
So we're totally kidding. What's it called? We think I'm a big fan of Stephen Wonderboy, but I think he's and that dude cracks me up because he's just so clean cut. And so when people insult him, he's like, "Why you gotta be
You ever
mean?"
heard him say the F word?
No.
He drops an F-bomb on his Twitch stream.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird. I can't imagine that guy.
It was funny. The whole point of him saying it was because he was like, yeah, kids will look up to me, and then their parents. Or he says he's talking about some of it with kids, and he's like, yeah. And they say that, and I'm like, what the F are you talking about? And I was just like, whoa.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that, but I think Jeff Neal, I do think he's gonna get the TKO probably second or third round. I think if he does get it, probably. I feel confident saying third round. I think he's able to kind of withstand that, but I won't be surprised if Neil Magny wins. He's able to get the decision win against him. I don't think he's able to finish.
So you're trying to play both sides.
What's up? A little bit. I like both these guys, man. It's hard. Like a lot of these fights on this card are people that I really enjoy, but I'm gonna definitely go Jeff Neal third round TKO though.
All right. Well, that brings us to our next one, which is a weird one.
Yep.
Because of how it came about. It was originally the headliner for this event, and it's no longer the headliner because one of the fighters in the fight was cut by the UFC like a week before the fight. Diego Sanchez, which we had talked about a little bit, and he was set to fight Donald Cerrone this weekend. He got cut, and he was paid all his money, and they said bye. Donald Cerrone left without an opponent, was not sure if he was wanting to take the fight, but he came back and said, yes, I do want the fight, and they gave him Alex Morono. Alex Morono is always game, he's always ready to fight, and that shows here. I think if there were ever a time for Alex Morono to shine, it is now.
Yep.
So if he wants his career to go somewhere, I think he has to win this one. And I know a lot of people would say, well, Donald Cerrone should feel like he has to win this one, otherwise he's going to get cut. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I think some of his fights some of his recent losses were losses that just don't reflect as a loss to maybe not necessarily the MMA community, but like Dana White isn't going to look at the loss to Conor McGregor and go, nah, you suck, bro.
Yeah.
I know he talked about like having a conversation with Cowboy after that fight, but Cowboy says that conversation never happened. He said Dana White said like, hey, you heard what I said? He said, yeah. And he goes, eh. And that's all there was to it. So I don't think a loss here, depending on how it goes, is too bad for Cerrone. I think if he comes in and he shows up ready to fight and he puts on a good fight, even if it's a loss, he's all right. So I think Alex Morono, this is his chance.
Yep.
If he wants to move up, a win over Cerrone is huge. It says a lot about him. It says he's willing to step up short notice and take a fight and beat a legend right then and there. But I think if Cerrone wins... and this fight is at welterweight.
Yep.
So I think what that would be fun is if he wins and Nate Diaz loses to Leon Edwards, and that sets up a rematch for Cerrone and Nate Diaz.
That'd be fun.
For
it would make
Cerrone's
sense.
possible last fight.
It was like one of the things we talked about is just we were kind of, discussing plans, what to talk about today, and it's like I think we both kind of agreed that when it comes to the Diaz brothers, like I really don't want to see them in the title picture. I want to see them just take mega fights. I feel like any fight that they're in it has to be a prize fight now. Is because I feel like they have a very high stock, even though Nick hasn't fought in a while. People are excited to know he's going to be coming back. And then,
but he doesn't want to fight Hazmat.
No,
and I think that is dumb.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing that he doesn't want to fight Hazmat, though. I think
Hamzat.
I think Hamza is going to go. That would honestly destroy him. I think
he would too.
Yeah.
Nick's been out of the game too long, and Hamzat is ready to go.
Yeah, that dude doesn't get tired like Nick Diaz doesn't get tired.
He hits hard, and he's very aggressive.
Yeah.
So and the Diaz, over the history of their careers, they've shown that they don't always do well with aggression.
Yeah.
You look at Nick Diaz in his fights with Robbie Lawler. He had some trouble with Robbie Lawler. You look at Nate Diaz in his fight with Josh Thompson. Josh Thompson pieced him up and knocked him out.
Yeah.
They don't always do well with aggression.
And Hazmat's not a sloppy fighter at all.
No.
I mean, you saw what he did to Gerald Meerschaert when he knocked him out within 20 seconds in the first round. So I don't really see him getting sloppy at all with a guy like Nick Diaz. I don't see, and he's a pressuring fighter. I mean, Nick Diaz knows that. And I mean, how is Nick Diaz, being off as long as he's been off, be able to handle that pressure, Yeah. And so, but back to the Donald Cerrone fight. I mean, it's hard because I always want to root for any Houstonians that are going to be on the fight card. But I think with Moreno, he's a kind of a slow starter. And I think Don Cerrone knows he has to win this fight. He even said himself, "I'm on a 4-fight skid." Like,
I think he understands it,
Yeah.
but I think he's doing his best to treat it as just another fight.
Yeah.
Because when he gets in his head, and that's shown throughout his whole career, when he gets in his own head,
Yeah.
that's when he loses fights.
And so, exactly. So whenever he has his, because he's talked about it openly, you know, he gets very anxious, he gets nervous before these big fights where there's a lot on the line. Like he talked about, you know, fighting McGregor, it fucked with his head a little bit. And it's just tough for him. I mean, anytime
His
he
fight
has
against Nate Diaz.
his fight against Nate Diaz,
He looked really bad in that fight because Nate Diaz pissed him off so bad.
Yeah, like who else? Like when he fought Rafael dos Anjos for the title.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a big deal for him to fight that guy, and then he was on a very good win streak. He had lost to Rafael dos Anjos way before, and but he was going through killers. I mean, he knocked out Jim Miller. He beat Edson Barboza by submission. And he beat Eddie Alvarez. He beat Vincent Henderson again back when John McDessie was still fighting. And then after he fights Rafael again for the title because they took different paths since that loss, since the first time they fought. And he couldn't do it. He ends up getting TKO'd within the first, a little over the minute in the first round. So I think Moreno is a little bit of a slow starter. I would like to see him pick up that win, definitely get in there and do that. But I want to say that Cerrone is able to capitalize on that because he knows he has to go in there. He has to put in the work. And I think whenever it's time for him to show up, he shows up. I think whenever there's a big spotlight on him, that's whenever he chokes, honestly.
And this one, maybe it's a blessing in disguise at being taken away from the headliner then.
Yeah. And so I think, but I think Moreno's young. He has a lot to learn. And I mean, I do think he'll definitely learn from this loss and he'll be back. But he's not really known to be the guys that threaten Donald Cerrone. I mean, it's usually fast-paced starters are the guys that'll do that, and I don't think Moreno's a very fast-paced starter.
Yeah, it's hard to say that though against the Cerrone that's on a near 5-fight losing streak.
Yeah,
because you don't know what's really going on.
Yeah,
I know he says he feels fine. He says he's great. He says he's good to go. But what happens if he goes in there and his reaction timing is just off? Age is catching up with him, even though it doesn't think it is. It's different when you're actually in there fighting.
Yeah.
And I know when you're sparring, you kind of know you can gauge it. But what happens is when you go in there and you're fighting a real fight, these guys are going to be a little bit faster. They're going to be a little bit more aggressive with going after you. And I think Alex Moreno, like you said, maybe isn't a fast starter, so maybe that works out, or maybe he uses this opportunity against a guy who maybe doesn't react as well to his shots once he realizes that.
Yeah.
He starts turning it on and pushes a little faster, pushes a little earlier. Like I said, I think if Alex Moreno wants a time to shine, wants a time to step up, this is it.
He's 30 years old. He has a pretty decent record as well. And I mean, it's now the time he's 18-7. I mean, and so won no contests. And so I think this is definitely just his time to go out there and show that, hey, like these losses I've taken, I mean, they mean nothing. I'm out here.
Part of my career.
And he's taking his fight on short notice, so props to him for doing that, though. I mean, against a guy like Donald Cerrone, most people don't want to fight a guy like Donald Cerrone on short notice. Donald Cerrone is used to these short notice fights. Yeah. And
okay.
I mean, he likes to go in there and beat the crap out of people and then make a check from doing it. So it's hard to call this one, but I don't know. I kind of want to. I think Cerrone does get the TKO in the second round, though.
It all depends on how Cerrone fights. Yeah. It's hard to tell whether or not this losing streak he's on really means anything.
Yeah.
The last fight was a no contest from an eye poke, so it doesn't really count. It was a really close fight against Nico Price. So does this losing streak mean something?
Yeah.
Or is it just unfortunate and he's still Cowboy? So I think since you said Cowboy, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Alex Moreno by decision.
Yep. And I honestly agree with it too. I could definitely see that happening. And but I just think Cerrone's just kind of there when Moreno's still trying to catch up. And but it's just, I mean, I'm hoping that Ronaldo's able to pull off the win. I don't want to sit there and seem like I don't like this guy at all, but I just think that Cerrone's just there's levels to it. But Ronaldo has great wins over some good fighters. He's beat Max Griffin by decision. I mean, that's a big deal.
Max Griffin's no joke.
Yeah, I mean, he's beat guys like that. He's beat Zach Otto. He has a couple great wins.
What is Zach Otto doing these days? I kind of forgot about Zach Otto.
Oh man, to be honest with you, I haven't heard his name in a long time since.
Yeah,
started kind of looking into things.
He was real hyped. I was real excited for him, and then I feel like I hadn't seen anything about him in a long time.
Yeah, he hasn't fought since he lost to Alex Morano.
Dang.
So.
Is that 2018?
That was 2019.
2019. Okay.
So he's. I mean, I know he's no longer in the UFC though. So. He was released back in December 2019, right after that loss. Well, not right after that. Fight happened March 2019, and he was released December 2019.
I don't know if he's been picked up by anybody.
It doesn't say.
Well, moving on to the main event, which is going to be... It was originally, the third fight on the main card. Now the main event, Michelle Waterson and Marina Rodriguez. I feel like this fight is actually a lot like Cerrone and Morono, where you have one person who is very well established. She's had some losses peppered in there with Michelle Waterson. And then you have Marina Rodriguez, who she's looking good lately. And if she wants a time to really prove that she is it, you take this headline spot and you make a statement and you get the win. And I think if she gets a win in dominating fashion against Michelle Waterson, I think she's just proved a really strong point.
Yeah, and Marina, she's coming off of a knockout win over Amanda Ribas. So it just says a lot that she's able to translate that type of power to strawweight. Because, I mean, they're cutting down to 115. So I think that's pretty impressive that she's able to do that. And while you have Michelle Waterson, who has great stand-up, she's known for it. But I think Marina just brings that power to the table. I mean, she never really leaves herself hanging. Whenever she was piecing up Amanda Ribas, it was just clean shots over and over again. There was nothing sloppy about what she was doing.
But I would say that just was the discrepancy in the striking skill of Ribas and Rodriguez. You don't have that with Waterson and Rodriguez. Yeah. Waterson's got great striking. We all know that. Her karate background has shown in every single one of her fights. The only time I think her striking has really not looked great was when she was fighting Rose Namajunas. Which no one expected. Everyone expected the stand-up to be leaning towards Waterson. But that's what Rose Namajunas does. She goes in there and she proves the odds wrong. So Waterson being the favorite in this fight, I would think it's just another fight to her. I don't think she's coming in there with too much pressure on her shoulders. And I don't think Marina Rodriguez is really someone to let things get to her, like now being the headline of a big card.
Because, I mean, she already had a lot of eyes on her whenever she's fighting Amanda Ribas. Because people like Amanda Ribas. They wanted her to win, but she went out there and she folded her twice.
Yeah. So I think you get a pretty good fight. I think you get a very back and forth fight. I think Michelle Waterson keeps her distance, uses her kicks, and I think whoever goes for a takedown and gets it is probably going to be the winner of the fight by decision. Yeah,
and I honestly feel like I'm gonna go Marina by decision. Okay. I think she has the edge in the stand up. I think she has the edge in the power. She doesn't fight too aggressive to leave herself open. I think Michelle Waterson's gonna pressure her, but I think she's gonna be able to pepper her up with some really good shots. And but yeah, I'm gonna go Rodriguez by decision. I don't see her knocking out Michelle Waterson. But then again, I mean, I didn't see her knocking out Michelle, Amanda Ribas, and look what she did right there. So, because I don't see her knocking her out. I mean, she's not really known for her submissions as well, where Michelle Waterson has been known to lack a little bit, even though she does have great ground. I mean, one of her submission losses is against Rose Namajunas. So, but Rose is great on the ground, just as good as she is standing up as well. So, but yeah, that's what I'm gonna definitely go Marina by decision.
I'm going to say Michelle Waterson. I want to say by knockout, but I don't think that Marina Rodriguez is going to let that happen. I think it's going to go to decision. I think Waterson is able to keep her distance, though. That's what she's good at. That's what she knows to do against high-level strikers, so I think she's able to get that done.
Yep. So
that's the UFC Vegas 26 card.
yep, definitely tune in. Give us y'all's predictions in the comments. So I would
give
like
us predictions, guys.
Would really like to hear that. I appreciate
4 times as funky. Shout out again.
Yes, because I want to know his predictions. That's why I want to know 4 times as funky's predictions. I would love to hear them and discuss those with him because I was super excited to see someone comment on the page and actually interact with us. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, give us those predictions for. That's what we want.
Yeah, no, we definitely would like to talk about those too. I think that'd be cool. So moving on though, there was some stuff that happened this week that me and you had talked a little bit about.
Everyone.
Yeah, so we got some not so breaking news that's happened since Sunday, since Monday, since we had recorded.
Not so hot takes.
Yeah,
cool takes.
Yeah, more cool takes. Good thing they're not hot takes because I'll probably say something very outlandish, and then I go back a week later. So I don't know why I said that, but one of the first things we had talked about was Leon Edwards versus Nathan Diaz has been pushed to June to UFC 263.
It's the first time in Nate Diaz's entire career that he's ever pulled out of a fight.
Yeah.
And it sucks because it's his first time back in a long time, and then he pulls out.
Yeah.
And it's a fight that I begrudgingly will say will put him in title contention. It makes sense why it would put him in title contention,
right.
But I can never stand there and agree with a guy getting pushed to a title shot when he's had one fight in however many years. Same with Yuri Prochazka. I'm a huge fan of him, but 2 fights and you're getting a title shot.
Alexander
one fight and you're number 5th ranked.
Raychick said he wants to fight him.
Yeah, and we were saying that would be a good matchup.
Yep.
And it would be. So I hope it happens. I'm sure Yuri's going to be down, but I think his team is going to be like, no, we already have the title fight.
Yeah.
We already have it. So just let that happen.
Let's just let it happen, yeah. But so Nate Diaz pulled out with a back injury out of next week's card, which it's kind of worrisome because whenever you injure your back, you're very susceptible to keep injuring it. And he's been around for a long time. Fighting a guy like Leon Edwards who's strong in all aspects of everything. When it comes to his stand-up, when it comes to his grappling.
It'd be like that scene in Rocky where Apollo Creed's manager's telling him, hey, we don't need this fight, baby. He's no good for you. It's not good for you. I feel like that's probably Diaz's team. Like, hey, your back's hurting you? Yeah, this isn't good for you. Don't take this fight.
Yeah.
Leon Edwards is a killer. That's what he does. He kills your eyesight sometimes. Yeah. Unfortunately, if you don't know what I'm referencing, he poked Bilal Muhammad with a fight-ending eye poke.
And split his eyelid.
It was rough.
Yeah.
But I'm just kidding there. So, it happened, but I am kidding about hyping him up that way.
But
he's a very good fighter. He very rarely has
mistakes
like that in his fights. So he's very good. He's very technically sound. He's very good anywhere on the fight. So I think he is a bad matchup for Diaz.
Yeah, and so that's kind of...
This fight getting pushed back sucks.
Yeah, it does suck, but I'm happy that he still has an opponent, though. I mean, Leon Edwards, I don't know what it is, but it's so hard for him to
just can't get fights.
And so,
whether it's them getting injured and pulling out, or it's them just not wanting to sign the papers and fight the guy.
Yeah, I mean, and so it's... I'm happy that, to see that they at least pushed it to June to where it can still happen. I mean, I think, imagine if, in a month from now we're talking about this and Nate Diaz pulls out again. And it's like, that's a second fight in the past year that he's had signed up. That's constantly 3 times it's been canceled.
Yeah, I give up then. Sign him to fight Brendan Schaub.
Right. And so, but yeah, I mean, so it's good that they finally have a date set for it. Hopefully Nate Diaz is able to recover and come in.
That fight was going to be in Houston, right?
Yep, that was going to be next week in Houston.
No, it's not.
Yep. And so,
cool.
And there was some more updates. Diego Sanchez released interview with Anthony Smith talking about the whole UFC situation, and I don't know what's going on with Diego Sanchez, but he did talk a little bit about his addiction problems. He talked about how everyone kind of left him, from his team to his wife. They kind of all he was left alone. So that's where Joshua Fabia came in, and so I think that just adds to my whole speculation of that guy. Is he saw a broken guy and just decided to be a parasite and just try to pick him up.
Well, they met at a gym.
Yeah,
and I want to say it was Diego who approached Fabia. I don't think it was Fabia who approached Diego, if I remember correctly. Diego approached Fabia and wanted to grapple with him, and Diego claims that Fabia made him tap in 40 seconds.
He made him tap all right.
Yeah,
definitely made it. Shout out to Cowboy Cerrone for that little fun joke at the end of that. But
so it is a weird situation. He's opening up a lot more to the public with these videos, which I think is a good thing, because the fans are always going to love Diego Sanchez.
Yeah.
And I hope that they don't project what they're getting frustrated with Fabia onto Diego, because I don't think it's Diego. I think it's Fabia.
Yeah. Which that's what Dana White's even openly said. It's not Diego, it's Fabio.
Yeah.
That's why we're not going to deal with him.
So, and I mean, Diego got paid.
Yeah.
He got paid his win money. He got paid his show money and the win money, and then got cut because of Fabia. But I don't think it's Diego. I think it's Fabia, and I think whatever's going on there is getting a little out of hand.
Yeah.
Because now Diego's talking about how it's possible the UFC might try to have him killed.
Yeah, for speaking out about these things, which I don't think they're not going to. If they didn't kill Frank Shamrock, they're not going to kill Diego. So,
and look at the other guys like Nate Quarry, Tim Kennedy,
Kung Lee.
If they're all right, you're probably going to be all right too.
And Dana White hated John Fitch, and so I just think there's something going on. There's a lot of speculation. I think he does need to get help and separate himself from that guy as much as he can. But it's just you hate to see somebody you grew up watching just be in the position he is now.
He seems to just be deteriorating mentally.
Yeah.
So I hope he can get back on track. And I know we keep saying this in each episode. We keep bringing it up, but we're kind of like watching this guy get either warped by someone else, or he's been warped mentally and he's finally showing it, and this other guy is really just exposing it for his personal gain or because he truly cares about Diego. But we're getting to see it, and it's kind of weird, especially like you said, because we get to watch this guy since 2005. We've watched this guy fight, and he's always been exciting. He's always been a little bizarre. He's always been a little weird.
Yeah.
But it's getting out of hand, and it's getting kind of concerning, especially with claims of assassination.
Yeah.
So that's definitely an interesting one.
And so for some more stuff, Chris Weidman had recently done an interview, and I was able to tune into it today, kind of get an update on his leg. And from what he's kind of describing, it's like he is with his leg. He said it feels like it's asleep, like when your leg falls asleep and you circulation and stuff. And so he said it's real tingly. He said he really can't fully move his toes yet or anything like that, which it might take some time for that. But whenever he talked more about his injuries, he's had thumb surgery and stuff, and had to get a piece of his hip put into his thumb. That's why he doesn't have full mobility of it. And said that he doesn't even. He said he can't even feel it whenever it touches something. It's pretty much numb. And he talks about the complications with that. There wasn't really complications, but there's repercussions with the procedure he had on his thumb. To talking about his leg, and it was really, really sad to see it. I mean, he started choking up, and because he had so many plans for this year following that Uriah Hall fight, and they
Wouldn't that be interesting?
That would be interesting.
Chris Weidman versus Uriah Faber.
Book it, BKFC. I want to see it, and so
Faber's had some issues with his leg before. So.
Yeah. I mean, what's it called? I mean, maybe they could be friends about it, but. I think Chris Weidman, he did talk a little bit about what happened during it. He said that when he hit Uriah Hall with the leg kick, he said at first he didn't realize it was broken yet, and he talked about he said he looked at Uriah Hall, and Uriah Hall just had a poker face, and he's like, oh, there's no way he's gonna be able to handle one or two more of those. That was a good kick, and he said when he felt whenever he went to step back on it. So what's that?
Neither could he.
Yeah, and so he was like, man, he said that he's having some tingling issues, and he said that whenever his foot was broken, that there was he was losing his pulse to his foot whenever they went to check the pulse, because whenever an injury like that's so severe, eventually that body part that is no longer connected will eventually die and has to be amputated. And he did say that he was having some issues. I mean, I know that. Whenever it had broken, the blood in the foot, the bone marrow was starting to kind of mess with his leg a little bit. But he said that he wants to get back in a year and wants to continue training, which I think it's time to maybe hopefully reevaluate some things. Especially, he said he's had 23 surgeries in his whole life, and it's probably time to really consider what's the most important thing. I mean, he's a competitor; you can't tell this guy to stop. But I think at one point, like we talked about, it's just. I think Ray Longo and Matt Serra need to have a sit down with him.
Yeah. I think both of those guys can say as much as they can, but I think the person who would have the most pull is going to be his wife.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's who you listen to the most.
Yeah.
So I think whatever it is that he ends up doing, whatever it is that they tell him, I think the most important thing does need to be his health. But if his health isn't as much of a concern as people are expecting it to be, hey man, go for it. Anderson Silva did it.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll just have to wait and see. But I mean, I'm definitely going to be looking forward to hearing more from him. And so for other news, John Jones has left his management team, and he is now with First Round Management under Ali Abdelaziz. And if you don't know who Ali is, you've probably seen him before. He's managed guys like Khabib Nurmagomedov, Justin Gaethje, Kamaru Usman, Henry Cejudo. He even managed some guys some people in that fight in the PFL. Kayla Harrison, who was actually fighting on Fridays. He managed. On Thursday. That's who he manages. He also manages Lance Palmer. And so it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happened because apparently whenever there was talks with John Jones, talking with the UFC about all these issues with the contract because he wants to get paid more to move up in weight to fight Francis Ngannou, which I do think he does deserve some more pay for. I don't think he asked for $30 million, but whenever John Jones, when the management team he left was Maki Kawa, who was actually the same manager for Jorge Masvidal. So, but he said that whenever in the past 3 years, he hasn't really talked to Maki so much. He's more talking to Maki's brother. So I think he decided, you know what, let me get a good manager. Let me go ahead and do that. And he's going to go to Ali Abdelaziz under First Round Management, which, I mean, I have my own opinions about the guy, but a lot of people do. Some people say some good things. Some people say some bad things. But when it comes to it, Ali is, even if you think he's a sleazeball, his fighters get paid. His fighters are always in main event spots. And he treats them right. He's able to get them that great position they want to be in, and he has the connections to do so.
Well, Ali's not in the UFC.
Yeah.
Ali's not part of the matchmaking in the UFC. John Jones is going to get paid. John Jones is going to get headline spots, no matter what.
Yeah.
And I won't attribute that to Ali if it happens. It's going to happen with John. Whatever issues are going on, he wants more money, and they just think that that's unreasonable, which he's wanting to be the highest paid athlete in the UFC history is basically what he wants. And if I were told that by him, I think I wouldn't have a response too different than Dana's. I would be like, it's a little bit much, man.
Yeah.
Look at all the trouble you've caused. We can do that one day, but you need to rebuild yourself because with where you're at right now, that's just not going to happen. That's not something that they can do. Yeah,
because, someone had brought up, well, John Jones hasn't been in trouble in a year, which they say that like it's an accomplishment when it's like you are people look up to you. You're a pro fighter. You're worldwide known. You staying out of trouble should be exactly what you should be doing. You shouldn't be praised for being out of trouble for a whole year. And so I wonder what it's going to be like what it's going to be like with Ali, because Ali has a great relationship with the UFC. He's able to do certain things for these fighters. So I'm sure Ali, and he's very one-on-one with all of his fighters that he has. Also, he's great relationships with every single one of them. So I think he's going to be able to go in there and, maybe talk with John Jones, maybe reason with him a little bit. Like, hey, let's kind of take a step back. Let's reevaluate this. You want to get paid. I want to see you get paid, because he's going to get a cut of it as well. And Ali knows what these fighters deserves, And
I think that chance for that fight, though, is gone. I think Dana White's pretty adamant about giving it to Derek Lewis and keeping the heavyweight division running.
Yeah.
So what would be cool is John goes in there and proves himself in the heavyweight first.
Yeah.
Take one fight, man.
Cyril Gane?
I want to say no to that because I don't want to see Cyril Gane lose.
Yeah.
But I don't want to see John Jones lose before he gets to fight Francis.
Yeah. I think
I don't want to see either of those guys lose to each other.
It sucks, but it's just like it's a fight that whoever gets the title fight makes sense between those two guys. Who's going to be number one contender, because
I don't know. Cyril Gane beat Rosenstruck.
Yeah.
I think he needs one or two more. I think if he's smart, he takes one or two more, because even though he's one of the most well-rounded heavyweight fighters right now, which is hard to say with heavyweight fighters, because he's very good all over the place. I think he needs to fight. I think he needs to fight someone like Tom Aspinall. I feel like that would be a good matchup for him right now. I think if John Jones wants to come into heavyweight, he's not going to want to fight some 10th ranked heavyweight. No. He's going to want to fight a top guy.
Yeah. Which I think he deserves.
He does. I mean, he's John Jones. It's hard to deny him that. Arguably the greatest of all time. So it's just... it's a tall order to go in there and say, give me Francis Ngannou and give me the most money anyone's ever been paid, because, I mean, let's be real. We know it's going to earn the most money.
Yeah.
Or at least it's going to be up there, because John Jones, Francis Ngannou is going to sell. But I don't think you go in there and you lose. What happens?
Yeah.
You go in there and get knocked out by Francis Ngannou. Everyone's going to look at you and laugh and go, yeah, we told you, dude.
Yeah. You
weren't ready. And then... I doubt he really gets taken seriously at heavyweight again. Yeah. So I think if he goes in there and takes one heavyweight fight against, I couldn't even tell you against who, because right now I feel like the rankings for heavyweight are just kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
You have
I mean, you put him against Stipe. Stipe needs a win after that knockout loss.
True. I think that would be a good matchup. If Stipe loses that one, though, man, that's rough for him. But it's a very good upside if you beat him. Like, oh, holy crap, Stipe just beat John.
Yeah.
Let's put him up against Francis again. Yeah. Get that trilogy fight.
And I think he has the tools to beat John Jones. I think John Jones has the tools to beat him as well. I think it'd be a good back and forth fight. But, I mean, if John Jones wants to be taken serious at heavyweight, I do think he does need one fight. I understand that he's had a historical run at light heavyweight. But
you've also had a historical run at shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah. And so I
think
no
other fighter has done that much damage to their career.
If you're that serious about moving up to heavyweight, take a fight against Stipe.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, whoever gets that fight gets the winner. And because Stipe was, I mean, I don't disagree with him getting a rematch against Francis, but he was never winning that fight in that rematch, you know. And so I would like to see them two fight each other while Derek and...
right before he got knocked out, he did rock. Or he did,
maybe not rock, but he got him.
He
landed a really good right hand.
And then he rushed him. And it's like, why would you rush someone as powerful as Francis?
Yeah, who was also, he came into the fight very, very conditioned as well. Yeah. He wasn't tired yet.
He was ready.
Yeah, he came into that fight knowing that he had something to prove. And I think that's the fight to make for John Jones. But if he wants to be taken serious at heavyweight, he has to take that fight. If they offer it to him.
I think that's a great matchup. I think it's a good idea. At UFC, at Dana White, freaking make that happen, because we want John Jones and Ngannou. Everyone wants that fight.
Yeah.
So if you don't give us that fight, you're robbing us of that, and that's horrible. It's a crime.
Yeah.
Think about how fun that fight would be. So yeah, I think you don't want to give him the fight against Ngannou. Okay, let him earn that. How much was he asking for it? I know Dana said $30 million, but John said that's not what I said.
He thinks I know he said it between $8 to $10 million is too low.
Well, he said, I was about to say he said that was too low.
Yeah.
And Derek Lewis said $8 million.
Shit.
I'll take that.
Yeah. And so, man, if you pay me $8 million to fight Francis Ngannou, I mean, maybe 10. I would.
It'd be the fastest $8 million I've earned.
Exactly.
It'd be the only $8 million I've ever earned in my life.
People could
mock
me, but I honestly, like, I would try. I wouldn't do anything. It's like they told me, hey, we'll give you $10 million, but you have to try. Okay, bet. Like,
I'd pull guard.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull guard on Francis Ngannou.
I wouldn't even pull guard. I would just lay down and be like, hey, come here.
Yeah.
Get in my guard, bro.
As soon as I go down there, I would just keep my hands up.
He'd fall on me with a fist, and I'd probably die.
Yeah. I mean, I probably would be drinking through a straw for the next 5 years, but hey, you know what? I'm $10 million richer. I will take it. But
hey, I'll take $3 million. I don't even care.
$3 million would even $1 million would change my life, dude. Shit.
Just $10.
Yeah,
at least
actually,
I get to say I did it.
50,000. I think, yeah. You know what? I think it was like
$10 and pay my hospital bills because I'm gonna need it.
I'm gonna need a lot, dude. I'm gonna have to go through physical therapy. I'm gonna have to learn how to talk again after I fight a guy like
You
that.
just gotta bite down, man. That's what the mouth guards are for.
So shit. Look, I'm gonna freaking seize up
Just
biting
don't
down
let them
too
break
hard.
your jaw. You'll
I
be
can't
alright.
help it. Have you seen that guy? He's huge.
Bite down.
What he did, freaking, he almost took Rosenstrike's head off when he was out and he punched him.
Yeah, well, you know,
I would
frozen stroke.
Frozen strike. I mean, but yeah. So one more thing kind of in the news was Eugene Berriman, who is City Kickboxing head coach. He coaches guys like Dan Hooker, Alexander Volkanovski, and is also the head coach of our current middleweight UFC champion, Israel Adesanya. They both had doing an interview, and they were asked about Robert Whittaker turning down the title fight because he did openly turn it down, and he was okay with it. In which Robert Whittaker is coming off of a great win against Kelvin Gastelum, and it was a very good back and forth. And he turned down the fight because it wasn't enough time to prepare for him. Granted, he would just went 5 rounds beating up Kelvin Gastelum, which isn't an easy thing to do, but I mean, he said his hands were busted, his shin was busted, and so when he goes back to New Zealand or to Australia, he has to isolate himself for 2 weeks due to quarantine. New Zealand has very, very strict COVID rules, and so he had to isolate for 2 weeks, do a quick turnaround, barely see his family, and he just said that's not enough time.
Yeah,
and so
I don't blame him.
Yeah, I don't blame him at all. I mean, especially against a guy that knocked you out like that. You know, you need to be ready for that. And I still think there's a couple things that he does that Israel Adesanya can definitely beat him to the punch. And but yeah, Eugene Berriman pretty much said, you know, well, if he's going to pass up the title shot, put him back in line. You know, I mean, why don't we fight guys after Vittori? Why don't we fight Darren Till or Kevin Holland? I mean, if
Which neither of those guys have earned it or
No.
even come close to earning it.
No. I think Darren Till had a great chance to come in there and do something if he would have beat Robert Whittaker, but he's not having a very good middleweight run. He lost to Robert Whittaker. And then Kevin Holland right now is losing to guys that he should have beat. You know,
I don't know if I would say should have beat.
he should have beat
but
Derek
he should
Brunson.
have had. I don't know. That's hard to say that anyone should beat Derek Brunson unless you're a number 1 or 2 ranked guy. Derek
Yeah.
Brunson's very good.
Yeah.
He's very strong, very powerful, very smart guy. Kevin Holland is showing, and I'm going to say it, showing that he's not a very smart guy.
Yeah.
Because in the first fight with Derek Brunson, okay, you get taken down by Derek Brunson. What are you gonna, it happens. Learn from it, move on. Didn't learn from it.
Yeah.
Didn't move on. Publicly said, no, I'm not going to change.
Yeah.
Why would I do that?
I'm
and
not,
then
I'm
he
not
loses
here to be
again.
a champion, you know?
Yeah, he said, I'm not here to be champion. Then why are you here?
Yeah.
There are a select few people who get to say, I'm not here to be champion.
Yeah.
And they've already established themselves.
Yeah.
You haven't established
And
yourself yet.
It's one of the things as Eugene Berriman had said, you know, the end goal is to be champion, and it seems like Robert Whittaker isn't willing to sacrifice those things to be a champion. You know, I have guys in here whose arms are falling off and stuff because of their training so hard and they're just injured, but they're still pushing through it, which Robert Whittaker's already been champion. He's already been there before. And you think
so
that
he already knows what
yeah.
it takes. He
Yeah.
knows it's more than that.
And he even said after he lost the belt that he was happy to lose the belt because there was so much stress on him after losing it because he kept getting injured. He had some medical emergencies whenever he had that hernia when he's supposed to fight Kelvin Gastelum. So to say that he doesn't understand, it's like he's like, we all have to risk things. It's like, I think Robert Whittaker knows exactly what it's like to risk those things. You know, whenever he had his tough fights against Yoel Romero, he was close to getting beat. I mean, if it was anybody else, they would have quit. Robert Whittaker didn't quit. That's why he was champion, is because he showed that he has the heart and determination to be a champion. So for Eugene Berriman, just kind of dig on him like that. I've always been a fan of Eugene Berriman. I just thought it was a pretty bad low blow on him, and that just wasn't a good look. It was like, I mean, you can't disrespect that guy because he's been there before and he's done it before, you know. So, but yeah, so tomorrow night, Thursday, we will see PFL 3, which I know I'm looking forward to. Definitely one guy fighting, which is going to be Kamaru Usman's brother, Muhammad.
Yeah, by the time this video comes out, these fights will already have happened.
Right.
So just know we're talking about them on a Wednesday.
Yeah. So, these fights will happen Thursday night. This is a Wednesday, and so Friday we'll probably. I mean, on our next recording, we'll definitely talk about them a little bit. But Muhammad is going to be competing in the PFL, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do, man. I mean, you think Kamaru Usman is a scary guy. You should see Muhammad Usman. He's huge. He's a heavyweight fighter, not a welterweight fighter. He's his little big brother. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see those guys go in there and do that. Brandon Sells, though, he's fighting him, which Brandon Sells isn't a slouch as well, though. He's actually a good fighter. I mean, people will see him. It's just like, oh, man, he's got a little bit of beer belly, but I mean, he's a good fighter. Most of his wins are by second-round submissions, while
Yeah, hey,
all of...
look how many other fighters have beer bellies and are great. Mark Hunt,
Yeah.
Butterbean, Andy Ruiz, who doesn't have as much of a beer belly anymore.
Daniel
But
Cormier.
yeah, Daniel Cormier. The list can go on. Is when you're a fighter and you know what you're doing with what your body is,
Yeah.
you're all right.
And
Look at
so-
Sean Jordan. Look at all the crazy stuff Sean Jordan
Yeah.
did. And that dude was just chunky, bald guy.
And so, but yeah, no, like it's kind of funny seeing these guys, but it reminds me of Todd Duffy versus what's that? Mike Rowe.
Oh, Todd Duffy's first fight.
His second, I think it was like his second fight.
Okay.
Whenever he got knocked out unexpectedly.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But Brandon Sells, man, I mean, most of his wins are by second round submission, so he knows how to fight these heavyweight fighters. He knows what he has to do.
Yeah.
He has to kind of tire them out. Muhammad's only losses by decision, and so my only guess is, because a lot of his wins are first round knockouts, is that maybe he tires himself out a little too much, and then that's where Brandon Sells comes in, and he's able to get those submission wins against guys like
When you're that big and you have that much muscle, it just eats up your oxygen.
Yeah.
So yeah, coming from the Usman family, I'm sure he knows that. I'm sure he's got the training for it. I think if you're involved in that family, you know a bit about wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I think wrestlers usually know how to handle their cardio, but it is kind of a thing with wrestlers who are built like that. You do get winded early.
Yeah, look at Tyron Woodley,
Yeah. The other fight will be Kayla Harrison.
Yeah, she's fighting Mariana Moraes, which is going to be a good fight. Kayla Harrison's exciting to watch if you like watching
Undefeated.
good. She's undefeated. I know she's undefeated right now. She's 8-0. If you want to watch some great judo, I definitely recommend watching her. She is competed. She's a gold
right.
I
She was just at the Olympics.
Just
some games
2
or
gold
something.
medals in a row. No big deal. But so she's just she's competed in the Pan American Games multiple times. And but I mean, nothing to take away from Mariana. She's also, but I mean, when you look at her record and you look at Kayla Harrison's record, Kayla Harrison is 8-0, and then Mariana is 16-10 with most of her stoppages. When it comes down to it, she's half of her losses are by decision. The other 4 are from submission, and then she has 1 TKO loss. So I think I'm definitely going to go with Kayla Harrison. I think she has a great judo, great submissions, and she's going to go in there and definitely pull that off. And it's going to be exciting to see a gold medalist, gold medalist Olympian go in there and compete. I always enjoy seeing these guys who are top tier, these people who are top tier athletes go in there and kind of try something new. And she's transitioning the sport very, very well. And so for the main event, though, that's the one that I'm looking forward to see is how Fabricio Verdum will do against Renan Ferreira.
I think as far as this card goes and the standings for the heavyweight season, I think Fabricio Verdum takes it. And he's just so good all around.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how he comes back. He hasn't fought. When was the last time he fought? It's been...
I want to say it was Gustafsson, wasn't it? I might be mistaken, but I know he submitted Gustafsson.
He's had... It's been a while, and he's had some kind of troubles in the last few years. Did he get popped for steroids? What did he get? What happened?
He got popped for steroids.
Popped for steroids.
Yeah.
Kind of been rocky ever since, but he's been still Fabricio Verdum.
Yeah, he was taking Trenbolene.
Okay. Yeah. So I think he ends up taking this season, though, and taking it at least... He at least makes it to the semifinals.
Yeah, I think he... and you're looking at Renan Ferreira's record, he's very susceptible to submissions, and you're going against a guy who submitted Fedor Emelianenko. He was
the first guy to beat Fedor, right? Or was it Dan Henderson?
He was the first guy to like officially beat Fedor. So he beat him with a triangle armbar.
Yeah.
And so you got a guy who submitted guys like Antonio Minotauro Nogueira. He's very, very good, and I think he's a little older now, so he might not be as quick, but
still just as goofy.
Yeah, and I don't see...
I think he's having a good time over at the PFL.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a great time. I mean, I don't think drug testing will be as strict, so we won't have to worry about that as much. But
he's on the juice again?
Yeah, maybe a little bit of something, but depending on how he looks tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, he has great submission wins, and I think that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to go in there, he's going to submit that guy.
He's also got fantastic Muay Thai.
Yeah.
So if this fight stays standing... I don't think it goes well for Renan. I really don't. Verdum is so much longer than him.
Yeah. I mean, he knocked out Mark Hunt with a flying knee.
Yeah.
So, That's crazy when you think about
And that freaking kick he landed on Travis Brown is always fun to go back.
Dude, yes.
I love showing people that clip. I'm like, hey, just this guy kicks this guy straight in the face, jumps in the air, kicks him in the face. That guy he kicks in the face is 6'7".
Yeah.
He's 6'7".
And I think, what's it called,
He
dude?
just kicked him straight in the face.
Fabrizio's kind of an asshole, though.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
You see the dumb face he always makes?
Yeah.
That cracks me up.
I know he tried to fight Tony Ferguson one time.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, Tony Ferguson's always kind of, pushing things. He's always pushing things.
And I think it was really Fabricio that started that one between
It
those
was, but Tony Ferguson's going to push it.
Yeah.
He's not
a
going to
shit
let
starter.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you say something even somewhat like challenging, he's what's that, bro? What's
Yeah.
that, bro? What's that, bro?
He's got
you want to go, bro?
that alpha mentality, man. Yeah. You can't challenge it, but
He did the same thing on The Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
Charlie Rader.
Yeah. He asked the guy where his kid was at.
Where's your kids at? Where's your son? Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
That's not cool.
That's what's it called? Whenever going into the finale with Tony Ferguson, I was not happy to see him win, just because that whole thing came out. Who was it he beat? Ramsey Nijum.
Ramsey. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he knocked him out.
He was supposed to be good.
Yeah, he was.
He was getting rear naked chokes left and right.
And good. Yeah, he was good. He actually came back to the Ultimate Fighter Redemption.
Oh, he did. Yeah, I need to watch that one.
James Krause was on there. Jesse Taylor was on there. Joe Stevenson, I believe, was on there.
I wasn't there.
And so, I think that was like one of the last seasons too. Is like before they're making the reboot. But I mean, I think Fabricio Verdum's just gonna go in there. He's just gonna do what he does and just submit this guy.
Yeah. So it's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Like I keep saying, the PFL season is always fun to watch. I think by the end of it, people are going to start to figure out Verdum, but I think he's just too well rounded for people to get a grasp on. The level of talent in the PFL is always higher than people expect it to be. Like you were saying with Kayla Harrison, Olympic gold medalist 2 times. Ronda Rousey was a bronze medalist.
Yeah.
So you have someone who is technically better at judo than Ronda Rousey. So she should have success there.
Yeah. She's also fought in Invicta. Invicta is very fun to watch.
Yeah.
They have nothing but great women's divisions over there.
That's almost all fantastic female fighters have come from Invicta.
Yeah. Carla Esparza, I believe, was a champion over there.
Yeah. They're great there. What they do in the PFL is good. I feel like they do a really good job at finding fighters who are top tier talents. And they, like I said, you losing isn't the end of your run there. So like when you have a guy like Dan Spawn who just lost.
Yeah.
He's not done though. He gets to go back and fight one of these other guys who he just saw fight.
Yeah. Or
on
Anthony
the same
Pettis.
night that he did. Or Anthony Pettis. Yeah. You think Anthony Pettis is going to take this loss and she's like, all right, well I'm done here. No, he's got a whole season to look forward to.
Yeah.
He can still make it to the postseason. He can still make it to the championship.
So it's gonna be definitely a fun card to watch.
All right, well, that'll be the end of this episode. We appreciate everybody listening. Give us your predictions for the fights. Let us know anything you want us to talk about, or if you feel like we don't touch on something, let us know, and we will talk to you guys next time.